Are your eyes blind? You see the young master's car coming and you don't know to get out of the way? The clear yet rude voice of the teenager pierced Amelia Shaw's ears, exploding in her head. She rubbed her forehead, letting out a soft groan, her mind dizzy as if suddenly injected with peppermint, becoming alert instantly. At the same time, a flood of unfamiliar memories suddenly surged into her mind. Are you trying to play the victim? Haha, stop pretending. The young master hasn't even touched you. It was still the same teenager's voice, now laced with mockery. Amelia Shaw slowly raised her head to look at the person speaking in front of her. What met her eyes was a handsome face, youthful and slightly arrogant. This face acted like a switch, causing the unfamiliar memories to rush back. Amelia Shaw remembered. She was living in a novel world. The original work was a classic school romance novel, mainly telling the story of the wealthy young lady Quinn Bennett after entering Lorton Academy, who, due to misunderstandings, became enemies with 3 famous young masters from the F4 group of the Academy. The 3 began targeting Quinn Bennett, using all sorts of tricks, but were gradually seen through and countered by her. During this process, Quinn Bennett's intelligence and bravery gradually attracted the 3 young masters, leading to a romantic battle within the Academy. During this time, Quinn Bennett lost her identity as a wealthy young lady. When she was born in the hospital, she had been mistakenly swapped with the real heiress. The noble phoenix instantly became a wild chicken that fell to the ground, and many people were waiting to see the spectacle. But what surprised everyone was that the 3 young masters of F4 stood up to support Quinn Bennett. Even more unexpectedly, the remaining young master of F4, the eldest son of the Quinn family, Quincy Stone, Quinn Bennett's brother, also joined in the pursuit of Quinn Bennett. In the end, Quincy Stone successfully took the beauty home. Quinn Bennett also lived a life that made others envious. Meanwhile, Amelia Shaw played the role of the real heiress who had been mistakenly swapped at birth. Coincidentally, she also entered Lorton Academy, but as a top student admitted directly. On the very first day, she encountered one of the F4 members, Daphne Lane's Rolls-Royce. The issue was that it was exactly like the first time Quinn Bennett arrived at Lorton Academy. However, this astonishing coincidence did not lead to a happy ending for Amelia Shaw. The incident of the collision spread like wildfire throughout the Academy. Rumors circulated that Amelia Shaw was imitating Quinn Bennett, deliberately crashing into Daphne Lane's car. The rumors peaked when someone discovered that the bracelet on Amelia Shaw's wrist was identical to Quinn Bennett's. At that time, Daphne Lane and Quinn Bennett had many fans in the Academy. The princess is one thing, but a commoner like her. What right does she have to get close to the young master Daphne? Exactly. Does she even know who she is? Does she really think that using underhanded tactics will make the young master Daphne notice her? The most disgusting thing is that she even tries to imitate the princess. What a lowly wannabe. Thus, a diehard fan of Quinn Bennett took it upon herself to eliminate the threat, following Amelia Shaw to the dormitory entrance, and when Amelia Shaw appeared, she threw a bucket of sulfuric acid at her. Amelia Shaw was thus disfigured, but the rumors at school did not stop. Almost everyone thought she deserved it. Some even took action to bully her. This ordinary girl had lost her parents at a young age and now, when faced with disaster, had no one to turn to for help. After enduring long-term torment, she ultimately lost her last attachment to the world and left it forever. In Lorton Academy, Amelia Shaw's death was like a small stone thrown into a vast lake, causing no ripples whatsoever. Until the scandal of the true and false heiresses was exposed, the Quinn family's parents, following the clues, found Amelia Shaw and discovered she was their biological daughter. But it was too late. After a period of heartbreaking sorrow, they poured all their guilt and love onto Quinn Bennett. Having lost one daughter, they could not bear to lose another. The storyline involving Amelia Shaw in the original novel was only a small part. As a cannon fodder character, her role was to open the hearts of the Quinn family, allowing them to accept Quinn Bennett back and recognize the love between Quinn Bennett and Quincy Stone. But what had she done wrong? She had merely accidentally bumped into Daphne Lane's car on her first day of school. Moreover, it was Daphne Lane who had violated traffic rules by driving his vehicle onto the sidewalk. Amelia Shaw felt a deep empathy with the descriptions in the original work, only thinking of the tragic consequences caused by coincidence. She absolutely could not end up with a fate like that in the original storyline. If she could avoid it, she would. She would never get entangled with these people again. Having made her decision, her eyes gradually regained their spirit, focusing on Daphne Lane in front of her. Amelia Shaw finally noticed that the expression on his face was dazed, as if astonished. His eyes seemed glued to her face, wide open, as if they were about to pop out. But right now, she couldn't afford to care about that. She should leave here first. In the storyline, it was precisely because she exchanged a few words with Daphne Lane at the school gate that her classmates passing by after class saw it, leading to the subsequent rumors. Amelia Shaw lowered her head, avoiding his gaze, her lips moving slightly. I'm sorry. She truly had lost all courage to fight back, wanting to avoid injury. She just wanted to make peace and leave quickly. Therefore, even though it wasn't her fault, Amelia Shaw still followed his lead and apologized. After saying that, she quickly turned around, her legs moving like the wind as she left that place of gossip. Wait. Just as she had taken a few steps, the startled voice of a teenager came from behind. Without time to discern the emotions in it, Amelia Shaw didn't even stop, rushing away even faster. Unexpectedly, the person behind was still unwilling to give up and chased after her. Instinctively, Amelia Shaw felt scared, not daring to look back, like a little deer being pursued by a predator, running frantically with all her might. It wasn't until she rounded a corner, her heart pounding painfully as if it were about to tear apart, that Amelia Shaw finally stopped, gasping for breath a few times, then peeked back. No one. Amelia Shaw quietly breathed a sigh of relief. She leaned against the wall, feeling a clear sense of relaxation. Her beautiful face, like a fairy, flushed lightly, a few strands of hair damp with sweat stuck to her cheek, inadvertently adding a touch of innocent cuteness. It was a pity that such a beautiful scene was hidden in a dead corner of the school, where no one could see it. Amelia Shaw lifted her head slightly, calming her rapid breathing. She had thought it through. Just lifting her head a little like this, Daphne Lane probably wouldn't remember her appearance. After all, that young master Daphne always judged people by their noses and wouldn't bother to remember the faces of passers-by. Moreover, after entering the school, she had to wear a uniform. By then, amidst the sea of people, he would definitely not recognize her. This time, there wouldn't be a crowd rushing over to gawk after class, and no one would be spreading rumors about the car collision anymore. Everything would get better. Amelia Shaw blinked her slightly damp eyelashes, silently encouraging herself. After resting for a moment, she lifted her slightly weak legs from the strenuous activity and slowly walked toward the dormitory arranged by the school. Daphne Lane chased up to the flower bed beside the second teaching building and stopped. It wasn't that he didn't want to continue chasing, but just then, the first class had ended, and a continuous stream of people was pouring out of the teaching building, blocking his way. It's the young master Daphne. Did you feel like coming to school today? I've never seen him in person. I have to call my sisters to come see. So handsome. Hearing the chaotic shouts and admiring words around him, along with the infatuated expressions of those who deliberately approached him, Daphne Lane's already gloomy mood worsened because he couldn't catch up with the girl. Chaotic shouts and admiring words around him, along with the infatuated expressions of those who deliberately approached him, Daphne Lane's already gloomy mood worsened because he couldn't catch up with the girl. He scowled and shouted, "Get lost." Instantly, the surroundings fell silent. Without needing to do anything further, the crowd surrounding Daphne Lane dispersed on their own. Why did school have to end right at this moment? Why did these people have to come out just as classes were over? Damn it! Daphne Lane cursed silently as he strode out of the crowd, leaving behind a group of people whispering among themselves. Young Master Daphne may have a bad temper, but he wasn't like this before. Did he eat gunpowder today? Daphne Lane felt as if he had indeed eaten gunpowder. Returning to the student council's lounge, he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. Just thinking about how close he had been to catching that beautiful girl, like a fairy, filled him with a sense of unwillingness, regret, and anger that made him restless and unable to sit still. You look terrible. Did someone anger you? A lazy voice suddenly rang out, snapping Daphne Lane back to reality. You look terrible. Did someone anger you? A lazy voice suddenly rang out, snapping Daphne Lane back to reality. In front of him, a handsome, charming face suddenly loomed large. Damn it! Daphne Lane jumped in surprise, abruptly leaning back. He didn't expect to topple the single sofa chair behind him, crashing to the ground with a loud thud. Daphne Lane was momentarily stunned, but quickly reacted, scrambling to his feet while grimacing and rubbing his neck, glaring at the culprit. How did you come in without making a sound? Don't you know scaring someone can be deadly? I came in normally, Bobby Grant shrugged, his tone clearly teasing. It's just that you looked like you were in a daze. Daphne Lane looked back and saw the door was closed. Damn it. It was indeed because he was lost in thought that he had noticed someone entering and closing the door. What bad luck, Daphne Lane muttered under his breath, propping the fallen single sofa chair back up but not daring to sit on it again. Instead, he turned and sat down on another double sofa. Damn it. It was indeed because he was lost in thought that he had noticed someone entering and closing the door. What bad luck, Daphne Lane muttered under his breath, propping the fallen single sofa chair back up but not daring to sit on it again. Instead, he turned and sat down on another double sofa. What were you just thinking? Is Quinn Bennett up to something with you again? Bobby Grant lay back on the single sofa that Daphne Lane had propped up, resting his hands on the armrests, legs crossed, and asked nonchalantly, "What?" Daphne Lane paused for a moment. His mind was filled with the image of the fairy he had seen at the school gate, and he momentarily couldn't recall who Quinn Bennett was. After processing, Daphne Lane immediately smirked. With her petty tricks, is it worth my young master's concern? Pausing for a moment, he sat up straight and curiously asked Bobby Grant, "Bobby Grant, do you know how to find someone in school?" Bobby Grant raised an eyebrow. That depends on whether you know the person's name, major, and class. If any of this information was available, it would just take a little inquiry to find them. So, what if I don't know anything at all? Daphne Lane asked again. Very simple. Just leverage your status as the young master of the Daphne family. It should be a piece of cake, right? Of course. Daphne Lane knew the method Bobby Grant was referring to. Every student at Lorton Academy had a photo in the school system. He could easily pull up the surveillance cameras at the school gate, mark the appearance of the little girl, and have someone check one by one. But if he did that, others would learn of the little girl's existence. For some selfish reasons, Daphne Lane didn't want to do that, especially when recalling that fleeting moment. The girl looking up, revealing a uniquely exquisite face, as if heaven had poured all its effort into sculpting her, making every glowing praise in mythology seem incredibly pale in comparison. Her extreme beauty made one forget everything else, as if floating on clouds, blissfully unaware of why. It was just a pity that for some reason, the girl's amber eyes were clouded with moisture, like a thin mist lingering on clouds after a mountain rain. Seeing the scene, one couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow, wishing to punish whoever had made her show such a face. Daphne Lane's emotions were clearly reflected on his face, sometimes infatuated, sometimes pained, sometimes gritting his teeth, a true kaleidoscope of feelings. Bobby Grant was quite interested in observing him, his right hand resting on the armrest, unable to resist lightly tapping. On the way back to the dormitory, Amelia Shaw suddenly remembered that in her haste to leave, she had forgotten her suitcase at the school gate. She hurried back, and fortunately, Daphne Lane was no longer there. Perhaps it was class time again, and only a few students were scattered along the way. Amelia Shaw hurriedly lowered her head, but could still keenly sense the gazes of those around her lingering on her. Could it be that someone witnessed the collision, and now someone recognized her as one of those involved? Amelia Shaw felt like a little white rabbit frantically thumping its feet, beginning to feel anxious. It wasn't until she registered to find her room number at the dormitory management office and dragged her suitcase to the dormitory door that she felt slightly reassured. Lorton Academy was a prestigious aristocratic institution known for its long-standing reputation. It was never short of money and was, of course, very generous, arranging double rooms for students. Amelia Shaw turned the key and opened the door, finding someone already inside. It was a female student wearing a white shirt and a dark blue short skirt with braided hair. Hearing the door open, she quickly turned her head, revealing a round, pretty face. Amelia Shaw tightly gripped her suitcase, her hand unconsciously moving. She hesitated, intending to greet her first, but saw the girl's bright eyes light up like a small lamp suddenly turned on, so fiery that it was almost impossible to ignore. Before Amelia Shaw could clearly see how the other party acted, the braided girl was already in front of her, as enthusiastic as fire, saying, "Hey there, beautiful. Oh no, I mean classmate, hello. You must be my roommate, right? My name is Trina Little. I'm 18 this year. My family has a bit of money. I own 2 houses and a car, and I'm still a single mother. Never been in love." The braided girl spoke nonstop, almost revealing her entire family history. The dense words hit Amelia Shaw like bullets, and she finally managed to interrupt Trina Little before she could mention her great-grandmother. "Hello, I'm Amelia Shaw, a new transfer student." Trina Little was taken aback, silently screaming in her heart. "Ah, even the voice of this beauty is so lovely. Oh my God. Why is heaven treating me so well? I never expected to be roommates with such a beauty." Trina Little knew her cultural level was not high and that her admission to Lorton Academy was entirely due to her family's connections. Now she couldn't think of any way to compare this extreme beauty and wonderful voice. All she knew was that she was so happy, she could almost fly. "So it's settled then. You are my new roommate. Come in, let me help you with your stuff." The smile on Trina Little's face grew even brighter, her voice so enthusiastic it was almost excited. She completely forgot that not long ago, she had been lamenting to her friends about not knowing how the school would arrange things, letting a new student live with her. Amelia Shaw didn't know what Trina Little was thinking but was still surprised by her unprovoked enthusiasm. Such enthusiasm she had already experienced once at the dormitory management office. But she could manage her own belongings, so why let someone else help? "It's okay, my luggage isn't heavy." Just as Amelia Shaw finished her refusal, Trina Little had already taken the suitcase, easily pushing it to the bed on the other side. The kindness of others was like a newly bloomed flower, taking root in a desolate world, just waiting for a day when it would blossom and fill the fields with vitality. Amelia Shaw was slightly taken aback, then smiled softly, gently saying to Trina Little, "Thank you." The beauty smiled, her eyes bright and teeth white, as vibrant as spring flowers, and no amount of flowery words could fully express it, making it hard for one to look away. Trina Little stared blankly, and it wasn't until the beauty turned to go into the bathroom to arrange her personal hygiene items that she snapped back to reality. She instinctively wiped the corner of her mouth, relieved that no drool had escaped. "Ah, my roommate is a stunning beauty, who smiled at me. Trina Little just wanted to jump on the bed and roll around to release the excitement in her heart. After Amelia Shaw finished organizing her things and came out of the bathroom, she noticed that Trina Little's gaze seemed even more fervent, and she willingly helped her make the bed. Although it was clear from looking at Trina Little that she had been pampered since childhood and had never done such things herself, causing some trouble in her health, Amelia Shaw still found her very endearing and praised her without reservation. With both of their efforts, everything was quickly arranged. Transfer students needed to collect textbooks, and the enrollment message from the old school had mentioned picking up books at the general office. After tidying up, Amelia Shaw didn't stop and went straight to the general office, taking the map sent by the school. However, when she finally arrived at the marked location on the map, she realized she seemed to have lost her way. A large building in front of her clearly displayed the words Student Union in gold lettering. There was no one nearby to ask for directions, and Amelia Shaw followed the map several times, wandering around but still returning to the same spot. Just as she was hiding in the shade under the Student Union building, panting and fanning herself with her hand, she finally spotted someone. The person was wearing a finely tailored white shirt, with a black name tag on the breast pocket and dark blue trousers. The simple color scheme highlighted the outstanding figure of the young man. As he walked, his legs were discreetly crossed, outlining clear muscular lines. Waiting for the other person to come down, Amelia Shaw finally got a good look at his face. Sharp angles, eyebrows that extended to his temples, slightly piercing phoenix-like eyes, and an overall handsome demeanor that made him seem unapproachable. Moreover, his expression was cold, like a pine tree on a high mountain, making it so that one could only admire him from afar, unable to draw near. Amelia Shaw felt a bit flustered in her heart. However, she had circled around here several times already, and after waiting so long, she had only this one person to wait for. If she missed this chance, who knew how long it would be before someone else came? Thinking this, when he stepped down the last step, Amelia Shaw finally mustered the courage to speak. "Hello, classmate. Could you tell me how to get to the General Affairs office?" Her voice was like a clear stream flowing over stones, akin to the sound of jade bells clinking together, something only found in the heavens, rarely heard in the mortal realm. Hannah Sue paused at the sound. His heart, which had been calm, stirred slightly at this voice. Even his earlobes felt numb. He had never realized that he was someone who appreciated a voice. Calmly turning his head, he looked toward the owner of that voice. In an instant, all the surrounding noise faded away. The rustling of the summer wind, the birds singing in the forest, the sound of leaves falling. Everything vanished in that moment, leaving only an extraordinary beauty that could captivate the world, occupying the mind of the observer. Hannah Sue's eyes narrowed to a pinhole, reflecting only the image of the girl before him. Eyebrows like blue feathers, skin as white as snow, a waist like tied silk, teeth like pearls. The somewhat exaggerated lines from ancient poetry became a reality at this moment. Hannah Sue had never thought before that he would be someone who appreciated beauty. Today he realized that in the face of breathtaking beauty, everyone couldn't help but express their admiration. Even he, who had ingrained strictness and rationality into his very bones, was no exception. Classmate, if it's not convenient for you, then I can't." Seeing the boy in front of him staring intently without saying a word, those sharp, phoenix-like eyes seemed to pierce through him, as if wanting to ensnare him. The courage that Amelia Shaw had built up earlier vanished without a trace, and she felt flustered once again. But before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted. "The General Affairs office is a bit hard to find. Let me take you there." Amelia Shaw looked back and saw that the other person's expression was still as usual, his eyes indifferent, showing no signs of wanting to trap her. Perhaps she had misjudged him earlier. Amelia Shaw reassured herself and accepted his offer. But little did she know, Hannah Sue was also trying to calm himself. To match Amelia Shaw's pace, he walked slower than usual. However, walking alongside her, he felt a strange, invisible pressure weighing down on him, making his heart race, each step feeling as heavy as 1,000 pounds. "Are you a new transfer student?" After a few steps, Hannah Sue took the initiative to break the silence between them. "Yes." Amelia Shaw nodded quickly, then curiously looked at Hannah Sue, a bit puzzled about how he knew. She tilted her head slightly, a small movement, she thought went unnoticed, but Hannah Sue, who had been paying attention to her, easily caught it. "So cute." Hannah Sue lowered his eyes. No one could tell that he was internally spamming emoticons. He paused for a moment and explained, "You're not wearing the school uniform. Only 4 unique students from the student council and new transfer students dress like that, so it's easy to guess." "I see." Amelia Shaw understood. Then she thought about the 4 unique students from the student council he mentioned. Could it be the F4? The original text mentioned that the F4 enjoyed privileges at school and never wore uniforms, but he could call the F4 unique students. Could it be? The two chatted as they walked, not realizing they had arrived at the General Affairs office. This place is a bit hidden, and there are many tall buildings around, so the GPS doesn't work. Hannah Sue's words, combined with his calm and indifferent demeanor, increased his credibility. "No need to thank me. It's just a small matter." Hannah Sue said casually, but his back was straighter than usual, and his gestures did not hide his demeanor. If the members of the student council saw this, they would surely think their discipline officer was possessed. Before parting ways, Hannah Sue pressed his lips together, hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Classmate, would you like to exchange contact information? I'm the discipline officer of the student council, Hannah Sue. If you have any issues in the future, you can ask me." Having never spoken to anyone with such a gentle attitude, he could only sternly advise students who violated the rules, so his words came off a bit stiff. But Amelia Shaw didn't mind. Her mind was captivated by the name Hannah Sue. In the original text, the Hua family, to which Hannah Sue belonged, was an ancient and wealthy family, even richer than the 4 families of the F4. Moreover, Hannah Sue had once witnessed Amelia Shaw being bullied and had stepped in to help. Unfortunately, his accidental assistance couldn't completely resolve the issue. The bullies only became more outrageous afterward. But after all, Hannah Sue was a good person. "Thank you, my name is Amelia Shaw." After sincerely thanking him and casually exchanging names, Amelia Shaw felt a bit shy and said, "But I don't have a phone, so I can't exchange contact information." After saying this, the fair-skinned girl's face flushed pink, resembling the delicate beauty of a newly bloomed lotus. If an ordinary person said something like that, it would surely be an excuse. But Hannah Sue had reviewed the files of each student and knew that Amelia Shaw was an orphan, with her parents having passed away, and her family circumstances were poor. Initially, seeing those cold words didn't move him, but when those words materialized into a living person standing before him, he felt heartbroken. Lorton has relaxed the policies for outstanding students. Even transfer students can apply for scholarships based on their previous achievements. Hearing Hannah Sue say this, Amelia Shaw's starry eyes lit up, and she exclaimed joyfully, "Really? Really?" Hannah Sue replied firmly. Perhaps it hadn't been the case before, but since he said it, it was now true. Just as he finished speaking, his phone in his pocket rang. Amelia Shaw quickly said, "You can answer the phone first. Thank you so much for today. I'll go get my books now." After saying this, she stepped up the stairs toward the second floor. Hannah Sue quietly watched the girl's figure gradually disappear until she vanished around the corner of the staircase, before he finally picked up the phone that was still ringing. The screen lit up, displaying the caller ID, Daphne Lane. If it weren't for this phone call, he could have said a few more words to Amelia Shaw. Hannah Sue frowned slightly and pressed the answer button. "What is it?" His displeasure was clearly conveyed through his voice on the other end. But Daphne Lane seemed oblivious, excitedly saying, "Hey Hannah, the school is your family's. Can you let me in through the back door to check the cameras at the school gate?" Hearing this tone, Hannah Sue could easily guess that Daphne Lane was being thick-skinned. Without hesitation, Hannah Sue refused. "No." After saying that, he hung up. Damn it. On the other end, Daphne Lane heard the busy tone and couldn't help but squeeze his phone tightly, cursing again. After calming down, he thought carefully. With her little fairy-like appearance, it was impossible for her to be at school without anyone knowing. Either she was intentionally hiding her looks, or she was new to the school.